Well, we are live. Howdy, folks. Jörg here again from Dreamland Resort. And on my side is my partner in crime, Linda, aka Dragon Rose. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the FBI raid on our homes 2 years ago. Howdy, Terry. You're the first one to comment. Glad you could make it. And then we're going to, of course, take questions. I know a lot of you probably have questions about the raid. And we also want to tell you a little bit about the lessons that we have learned from the raid. It's hard to imagine the situation if you haven't been in that situation. So we want to give you an idea of what it looks from our side, answer your questions. And then, of course, there will be plenty of time, like I said, for questions. So let's get started. Oh, hey, Gary. Great to see you too. Let's get started. Linda is going to tell you her side of the story, and then I'm going to tell you what it looked like for me. She was here in Las Vegas during the raid. I was in Rachel during the raid. So with that, I give it to Linda.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. This will probably be more interesting for those who have never heard this before, and you'll understand why as we get further into it. I was still working, I still had my job, I hadn't retired yet, and it was November 3rd, 2022. I was laying semi-awake around 8-ish, and I heard what sounded like a sonic boom. It rocked the walls. We have a 2-story house here in Vegas, and I was upstairs in the back of the house. And I thought for a second it sounded like Rachel, where we get sonic booms all the time. So I thought, oh, what's that about? And I could hear voices. And I'm thinking, wow, something must be going on out in the yard. So being the nosy old lady that I am, I got up, I went out, I had my phone and my key fob in my hand, and I went. My intention was to go to the top of the stairs and look out the window to see what's going on in my neighborhood. And that's when I realized that the noise was coming from my house in my living room. So my first reaction was to look over the stairway and holler down something to the effect of, "Who the fuck are you?" or "What are you doing in my house?" or something along those lines. And they just started screaming, "FBI, come down with your hands up, FBI." And of course, I'm like, okay. And I'm in a nightshirt. I'm sleeping in an oversized t-shirt. And that's about it. I said, "Can I go put some pants on?" And they said, "Come down with your hands up." Of course, I'm not going to take a chance to walk across to the bedroom and grab something, and they might misunderstand me. So I said, okay. So I came down with my hands up, kind of like this, to see half a dozen or more armed, fully geared FBI agents in my living room staring up at me. And I'll be honest, I don't recall exactly if they had guns drawn or not at that point. But I walked down the stairs. I got to the bottom. I was grabbed by a female FBI agent who spun me around. She patted me down. I'm wearing a t-shirt and underwear. There's not a lot of places to hide anything. So that she didn't handcuff me. She put my hands behind my back and started to walk me to my front door. That's when I realized they're going to take me outside. And it was probably the first cold day of the year, November. And it was kind of drizzly. And I'm like, can I put some pants on? Can I put some shoes on? And they just ignored me. And all I remember turning around and saying, "Do you have a warrant?" And one of the officers said, "Yeah, you'll see it when we're done." And then they perp walked me, half naked, out to the street and into a vehicle. I sat in the car for a little bit, and they did finally bring me down a pair of jeans and some shoes and a robe to wear. And then I decided, but now my I'm stressed out. So I had to go to the restroom. So I told them I had to go, and they hemmed and they hawed, and "You sure? Can you wait?" "No, now." So they walked me back in the house. Now, understand this I find hilarious. We have a bathroom downstairs with just a sink and a toilet. It already had a thing on the mirror, a note saying that it had been cleared. But she would not let me close the door to do my business in the bathroom. She had to have the door open. I'm thinking to myself, I'm laughing to myself, what are we, the Corleone family here? You know, I mean, I can't have something hidden in the toilet. You already checked the room. Anyway, I just followed instructions. And when I was done, they let me sit in the den. And all the time they're asking me questions. Where is Joerg? And I said, he's up in Rachel. They said, no, he's not. I said, yes, he is. No, he's not there. We've been in there. He's not there. Now, that was the worst of the whole thing. I was sick to my stomach. I was scared that something happened to him. They said, well, we know the car is there. And at the time, it didn't even dawn on me, how do they know that the car is there? There's no windows to that garage. So I found out later they had broken a brand new steel door down, went into the garage before they even tried going in the house. But I kept insisting he's there. I says he sleeps. You know, the bedroom's in the back of the house. He probably doesn't hear you. You'll have to knock really, really hard. I mean, I know he's there. Oh, no, he's not there. I believe at that point I was speaking to an officer up there on the telephone, telling me he's not there. Where would he go? Does he go for walks? Do you have neighbors he might go see? I said, at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning? No, he's sleeping. I guarantee you. This phone is not he doesn't sleep with this phone right next to his head. You know, so he's just not hearing you. This went on. It felt like an hour. It was probably more like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. Then they finally, at that point, told me, oh, we're sorry. We haven't gone into the house yet. So now I'm relieved and I'm angry because I think they purposely did that to upset me more, you know, as an intimidation tactic. I think they knew exactly what they were doing. And of course, okay, so I'm like, all right, fine, you know, he's there. Before they went in the door, they had asked me a bunch of questions. I had to talk to them on the telephone again and say, well, here's where the bedroom is, here's where the door is, turn this way, turn that way, whatever. So when they finally had him, and they did put him in handcuffs, and like I'll let him tell his side of the story at that point. But that was probably that was the worst of it, because after that I just sat while I was being babysat by one of the FBI agents. Very nice guy. You know, he was talking to me while they were going up and down the stairs and taking things out. And at one point I even said to them, I suppose it's too late to ask you to put little slippers on your shoes. I said, you know, they're tracking up and down my carpet. And they just looked at me and said, oh no, don't worry. Well, you can get your house cleaned and just send the bill to us. We'll cover that. I said, and the door too? Oh yeah, we'll cover that. So, and you'll hear about that a little bit later. Yeah. So he eventually called me because he realized they kind of let it be known at that point they hit both houses. And so he did call me, and we were able to talk to each other and kind of reassure each other that we were okay. But up until that point, it was pretty hair-raising. And Joerg had mentioned earlier, what is our takeaways? I'll read you my takeaways.
Go for it.
My takeaways are: don't sleep without pajama bottoms on. Don't sleep with earplugs because you can't hear somebody at the door or hear the alarm, which, by the way, we have changed a lot of that, and we have better alarms now. And I won't even say the third one because it's kind of derogatory against somebody in Rachel that I believe had something to do with some of the reasons why they thought something of Joerg that he's not. So, and on that note, I'm going to pass it over to him so he'll tell you what happened to him.
Well, thank you for your side of the story, Linda. I mean, that's really, the whole thing is just, what really pisses me off is that you got dragged into this at all by just us being in a relationship. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. For those that I see people are still tuning in, for those that are just joining us, we are talking about the FBI raid on our houses in Rachel and here in Las Vegas. 2 years, a little over 2 years ago. There's also a website about it. I should probably post the website address in the chat. That way you can find all the documentation. I'm going to show you some of the website later. But before we get into all that, let me tell you how it started on my side. Again, I am in Rachel. It just so happened I think I had come up to Rachel a day or two prior. So it just so happened that I was in Rachel, Linda was here in Vegas. And yes, I do. I'm retired and I've always liked to sleep in. So I sleep in the mornings. I hardly ever get up before 9:30 in the morning. So I'm waking up to banging, shouting in my house. It was very clear to me right from the get-go that they were in my house. And they were shouting, Joerg, Arnu, this is the FBI. We have a search warrant. Now, I realized immediately, even though I just came out of a deep sleep, I realized this is serious. And this is my very first thought was a good friend of mine used to do that sometimes when he came over for drinks or whatever. He would bang on the door. Well, this is the FBI. That was my first flashback for just a split second. And then I realized, no, this is serious. And didn't at that point, I really only reacted. I can't say I made any conscious decisions. I went outside, I opened the door, I'm looking at somebody peeking around the door in the side entrance. There's a room on the side of our house where the side door is. And I see this guy peeking around the corner. And as I'm opening the door, he pulls back. And I have nothing better to say than, what are you doing in my house? And at that point, shouting, several people, if I remember correctly, several people shouting at me, turn around, hands against the wall. I'm shocked. I'm a retired software developer. I've never been arrested or in any other way been in conflict with a law other than a DUI many years ago in Germany that I'm not very proud of. But I've never been arrested, put in handcuffs, or anything like that. So I am just reacting. I'm completely not. I'm not in control of the situation. I'm turning around. My hands are yanked. I got them kind of up on the wall. My hands are yanked back behind my back, pretty forcefully, I should say, more forcefully than was needed. I'm put in handcuffs. And without any explanation, without anything being said in those few seconds, dragged out of my own house. I didn't even really put up a lot of resistance. I'm just, okay, these people are the law. So whatever they do, I better obey by it. And that's what you're taught as a good law-abiding citizen. So I said, I got nothing to hide. I'm just going along. It all gets sorted out. One question I did ask was, am I under arrest? And the guy who was apparently the lead guy on the FBI side later, he said, no, we are detaining you and we have a search warrant for your house. I said, I want to see the search warrant. You will see the search warrant later. I don't know if that's legal or not. I still think that they should, before they enter your house, they should provide a legal reason for doing so. But anyway, they dragged me outside, and Linda said it was cold and rainy down here in Vegas. In Rachel, it actually snowed that night, so they're dragging me through the snow. I had a pair of sweatpants on, a t-shirt, and no shoes, no nothing. So as I was, they dragged me out of the house in the snow, pushed me into one of their vehicles in the passenger side, and it's freezing cold. And here I'm sitting in my t-shirt and sweatpants. I'm from the shock, from being cold, I'm just shivering. And the guy is like, well, maybe we should close the window. While he had this door wide open. Yeah, that didn't do me a lot of good. So as things progressed, the very next question actually was from the guy, do you have any booby traps on the property? If any one of our guys gets hurt, that is going to be on you. And I said, booby traps, what are you talking about? Who do you think I am? I'm a retired software guy. I'm running a website here for fun. No, I don't have any booby traps on the property. Well, okay. So they, it was a very tense situation that I perceived as a somewhat tense interrogation. There was two gentlemen standing on this side and a lady standing on that side in the door, and the window never did get closed. It was still open. So the wind is blowing through the car, and I'm sitting there shivering, and these guys are asking me questions. And as it later turns out, one of them was FBI, the other one was OSI from the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. I got to say, the FBI guy tried to be more of a hard ass in the beginning. He was the one who really did most of the shouting, I think, when they first handcuffed me. And he seemed to be in charge, and it was like, okay, his role was to um, exert dominance. And later on in the conversation or in the interrogation, which became somewhat more friendly when they realized, hey, I'm not the guy that they were led to believe. I'm not this terrorist who's got all kinds of machine guns in his house, who's probably laps under his front steps. I'm none of that. So, the guy even said as much as, we thought it was odd when we pulled up to your house, a nicely kept property, American flag in the front yard. It just didn't look like anything we were expecting. So they were apparently led to something very different. And then at some point, something got said, and I was, I guess, still so overwhelmed with the situation that I hadn't thought of the possibility of them also raiding the house here in Las Vegas. And something was said that made me realize, oh, they are in Vegas too. And at that point, it was like, I don't say a word anymore. I want to talk to Linda right away. I need to know that she's okay. So they finally, one of the guys got on the horn and called on the cell phone, called one of the guys here in Vegas and handed me the phone. I was able to talk to Linda and make sure that she was okay. And at the same time, also tell her, I'm okay. This is just a misunderstanding. It will all get sorted out. We have nothing to coordinate, by the way, and I'm going to get into that later. So this goes on for maybe about an hour and a half. I can't really say. I'm in a daze. I really am. So it goes on for quite a while, and at one point, it was kind of funny. FBI for some reason stepped away, and I'm sitting in the vehicle with OSI behind me at that point, and he said something about me monitoring their test flights and stuff like that. I said, yeah, I'm monitoring stuff on the scanner, and you're taking all my stuff, so you're going to find lots of recordings on my hard drives. It's all very legal. I'm not doing anything illegal. Well, how do you know what's flying? How do you know so much about our procedures? And I told him, dude, you got to change your call signs every once in a while. After listening to it for years, I kind of figure things out. You got to change procedures maybe every once in a while. Oh, okay. So that was almost I don't want to say a bonding moment, but I felt a little empowered because I could actually provide some information, which at that point still was under the false impression would do me any good. False impression being the operative word. So after all this, and I'm seeing agents go in and out of my house, and I did actually. I have been called anal. I don't like dirt. I like things clean, and I don't let anyone enter my house with shoes on. So these guys are going in and out of my house through the mud on my carpet with shoes on. And at some point, I said something along those lines, and they actually did put bunny slippers on, much to my amazement, but they did, and I got to give them credit where credit's due, I guess. Anyway, when all this was done and they had carried all my stuff outside, and I think they also opened the front door, I didn't see everything being carried out. So they must have also brought some stuff out through the front door, which from where I was sitting, I couldn't see. So at that point, guy, okay, we'll go back in the house finally, and I wasn't. They wouldn't let me in the house. I had to sit outside. So finally, okay, go back in the house, and he presents me with a list of items that they took. And only in that moment, it dawned on me that they are taking every last means of communication from me. They are taking all my cell phones, they're taking all my computers, hard drives, and everything. But most importantly, every single means of communication from me. I'm in a very rural area in Rachel. Properties are spaced out there quite wide. And I have no way of calling for help. I have no way of calling Linda. They were leaving me with zero means of communication. I even said, okay, you got to give me a loaner phone or something here. No, we can't do that. So I refused to sign that list. And on that list was all my cell phones, all my computers, all my backup drives, um, my drone, my very expensive camera with, of course, the most expensive lens that happened to be on there. They took everything to the tune of about between $20,000 and $22,000 in value at the time. I refused to sign the list. Okay, they left, and here I'm sitting with a broken front door, with a smashed-in gate around my fence line, with a broken garage door. So a friend of mine, I think Linda had talked to a friend of mine and let him know she still had, they didn't take her phone. So she called our friend, and he came over and helped me close up the garage as good as possible for the night, close up the house as good as possible, close up the gate. And of course, I talked to Linda in between and figured things out, made sure that she's okay. And what does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm getting a funny error message here. I wonder if the FBI is tapping into our stream. It says more than one ingestion is using the primary URL. Send one stream. I don't know what that message means. I'm just going to ignore it. Chat, let me know if you guys can still hear us. Yeah, I guess you got the monitor right there. It's still live. Anyway, these guys leave, and I'm preparing. I said, okay, I'm coming home as soon as I can, but I got to secure the house. So I spent the night. I came back here the next day, and we were both still very shell shocked from this experience. We suffer. Yeah, thanks for the confirmation. Yeah, glad you can still hear us. The FBI must be watching. They probably are. And you know what? If I were them, I would too. So I don't blame them. But here's a kicker, and one of many kickers. But this is really, Linda already said, well, no problem. We'll just send us the bills and we'll pay for it. No problem. Stupid me. I got receipts for everything. I got the door fixed. I got materials to fix the door in Rachel, which I fixed myself, because it's hard to find somebody in Rachel to do anything. And of course, we send all the receipts to the FBI, only to be turned down. And no, this is an active investigation. UI, only to be turned down. And no, this is an active investigation. You are under investigation. We're not paying anything. Oh, okay. Well, I guess they lied to us. That was one of many lies, many lies that they told us. They also, the lead guy and Rachel also told me before they left, yeah, well, just give me a call. I never got his direct number. I finally got his name after pressing him for it several times. His name is Chase Blevins, and he lives here in Las Vegas, by the way. He told me, yeah, it might be about 2 weeks before you get your stuff back. Call me and we can discuss getting your stuff back. Here we are, 2.5 years later. I still don't have my stuff back. I have never been able to get a hold of the guy. I've tried to call him many times, left him voicemails, left messages for him with the switchboard of the guy. Another thing that is really fishy is the list of seized items in Rachel was signed by an agent with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Air Force OSI. Air Force OSI does not have jurisdiction over civilians, so there is a procedural error right there. OSI was not even supposed to take custody of my items, of my property, yet they did. So that is one of many procedural mistakes that were made, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the legal aspect of things later. If I had the money, I would press it, and I would most likely, almost certainly win, but it would cost me a lot of money. So for the time being, I'm not pressing it.
Can I step in before we go into the other phases?
Go for it.
For anybody who wonders why we even talk to them, I mean, we watch so much TV and they don't give them any information, don't talk to them, don't do anything, ask for a lawyer. First of all, we didn't have lawyers. We never thought we needed a lawyer. And I've seen too much on TV of people who fight the officers, any officers, when they come in the door. They get in their face and they act like I don't know. I won't go into what I really want to say, but they make it difficult. And it's like I saw no reason to do that. And I honestly think, for me at least, by being cooperative, I didn't tell them anything. There's nothing to tell them. There's it's no secrets. I answered their questions honestly, and I think that because I did that, they were cordial with me. They could have tore the house apart. I mean, they could have, they didn't have anything of mine on the warrant, but they could have gone through my office and they could have tore it apart. They did go in and looked in a few places, but they didn't make a mess. They had me log onto my laptop. As soon as I started to do it, they realized it was mine. They left all my stuff alone. Now, granted, I wasn't on the warrant, so legally they couldn't take my things, but they could make up something and say, well, they're sharing it, or how do we know it's hers? They were actually kind of polite. Once the initial fear was over, and I'm sure they come in just as fearful. I mean, we have firearms, and I had to tell them where everything was and all of that. They walk into things all the time. The officer that babysat me was actually from New York originally, and he said, there people can't have firearms as easily as they can in Nevada. Since him and his family moved here, just about everywhere they go, there's firearms. So we sympathize with that. They had a job to do, and I actually felt by the end of it all that they felt bad that they had to put me through this, mainly because I wasn't even part of this. I just happened to be a bystander. But they actually even had the nerve to say to me, "You don't have to stay if you don't want to." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to leave you in my house. You broke my door down, and I'm going to just leave you here just to rummage around and do whatever you want. Where do you think I'm going to go? No, I'm going to stay right here." So as much as it upsets me, and it still upsets me. I hear a noise outside, and I'm like looking. I hear a helicopter, and I'm thinking, are they going to rappel down? I mean, I don't know. I almost went and had therapy for PTSD because I couldn't get over the fact that, any little thing would just set me off. If they can do that out of the blue, what else could possibly happen? So
you feel violated.
You do.
You feel in a place that you see where you feel safe, where nobody can harm you. You feel violated.
It's bad enough if you have a crook, somebody break into your house and rob you. They're bad people. But when your own government comes into your house and breaks your doors down and lies blatantly to your face and all of that, that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah, that's really, I think that was the worst part, that the wake-up call. I think you and I both, we would have never seen it coming. We would have never in a million years thought this could ever happen to us. We are law-abiding citizens. I haven't had a parking or a traffic ticket in probably 15, 20 years. We are, you tend to think I live my life by the society standards and I'll be okay. No, this can happen to any one of you, and don't think for a minute that it can't, because it can. And if they get you, if you get on the wrong side of someone, and I think that is what happened in my case, if you get on someone's wrong side, this will happen to you. And one of the things, you're not prepared for it. It's not like Linda was saying in the movies, well, I'm going to call my lawyer, I have this and that. And no, you don't have a lawyer. You don't think of even putting up any resistance. At least in my case, I can honestly say I did not even think of putting up resistance. The next time around, it is going to be very much different, I can say that. But in that moment, I was so overwhelmed with the situation that I just went with the flow. And, then maybe we should already address the takeaways that I wanted to talk about. The takeaways for me are the agents are there for one reason: to incriminate you. They are not your friend. They are not your counsel. They will lie to you. It is legal for them to lie to you. It is not legal for you to lie to them. So right there, the playing field is not level. They are not your friend. You have nothing to gain from cooperating. You have nothing to gain from giving any kind of statements. My advice to anyone in this situation, and if I hope nobody that's listening right now will ever be in that situation, but if you are, I hope you remember that you have nothing to gain from cooperating. Do not talk to them, give them your name, and say you want to exercise your Fifth Amendment right, and that is it. Unless you are arrested, you don't have the right to an attorney, and you don't have to be read your rights. So I was never read my rights because I was never arrested. But there's all these things that you learn in hindsight that you see it in movies, but you're not really that up to speed on when you're not really expecting something like this. So the most important takeaway: don't look at these people as your friend. Don't think that telling them anything is going to do you any good. It's not. It's all they want is something to incriminate you, and be prepared for them to lie to you. The stuff about that I was on the run while they were not even in the house yet. They got Linda all freaked out. They wanted to know who and Rachel are our friends, who are our associates. And Linda, sure enough, gave them, and I don't blame her, gave them the phone numbers and names of our friends and Rachel.
Just two people, just two.
Well,
We have a lot more than two friends. I only gave them two.
Okay, but that was the whole goal of the exercise, to get our contacts in Rachel, who are our friends in Rachel. So they will lie to you and they will try to get you to incriminate yourself. Don't fall for it. Don't say anything. That's the best thing you can do. Be polite, but do not resist. Do not in any way physically resist. Be polite, but firm. You have nothing to hide, but you choose to exercise your Fifth Amendment right. On that same note, and to show people that we have nothing to hide, and at the same time to show exactly what happened, because there were so many stories floating around in Rachel and other places. I put together a website that has all the documents about the raid on it, and maybe let me see if I can share the screen here. I want to show you. It's the address I posted a little further up in the chat, area51fbiraid.com. Let me see. So here it is. This is the FBI raid website. Let's see if I can move that up. No, I guess I can't. What does this do? I don't know what it just did. Oh God, I'm learning, folks. Bear with me. Anyway, here we have the FBI raid website, Area 51 FBI raid. Let me just maximize it, then you can see it a little better. This is a website. This is our answer to the raid. We have nothing to hide. We put it all out there. We have statements from us out there on the statements here from Linda, from me about the whole thing. There's photos of the damage to our home. Yeah, this is what the front door here in Las Vegas looked like. There's some kind of an instrument that they used to bust the door in. The door was all the way cracked. Mm-hmm. So we got photos of that on the website, and we have the search warrants. As much as we were being handed, I only got the search warrant starting at page 40. So I wonder what happened to page 1 through 39. A few fields. These are blurry sections that I put in. The camera is nobody's business, and the address, our address, is nobody's business. Special Agent Blevins was the agent in charge in Rachel. Here's somewhere is okay. This is blacked out. These were photos of my home. So they did surveillance before the raid, and actually the search warrant included photos of my home, which I don't want to publish really. Here's all kinds of what, mumbo jumbo in the search warrant. And what's really interesting is on the last page, it says, if the person from whom any search warrant data was seized requests the return of any information in the search warrant data that is not set forth in attachment B2, that information will be copied onto appropriate media and returned to the person from whom the information was seized. What that means is if I request that I want a copy of the data that they took every single one of my drives, all of my backup drives, everything is gone. I lost all data from more than 20 years of working on the computer. And I requested not once, but probably about a dozen times to be returned a copy of the data. I don't want my laptop back yet. They can pour over that laptop all day long. Just give me a copy of my data, my medical records, my financial records, my photos, memories of my parents that have since passed away. All these things that have nothing to do with anything. Give me a copy of that. I've requested that probably a dozen times between me and my attorney. Never even received so much as a reply. I've even wrote a letter to the judge, to the federal judge who signed the search warrant, who is listed in the top. She never responded to me either. Yeah, there she is, Nancy J. Copper here in Las Vegas. She never responded to me either. So we are basically just completely being ignored. No communication from us is being responded to. Media outlets have picked up the story, have inquired about it. They are being stonewalled. And I think Linda is going to talk a little bit about efforts she made to contact some elected representatives. Even they are being stonewalled.
Well, initially, in December, right after it happened, I reached out to Jim Jordan of Ohio and Rand Paul of Kentucky because they were being very vocal in D.C. about different things along these lines, and I thought, well, let's let them know what's going on. But their people got back to us relatively quick, I guess, for politicians. Of course, it's not the politicians; it's their team. Saying, I'm sorry, we can't help you. You're not our constituent. Go to your own Congress people or representatives and present it to them. Okay, fine. So I did that. I wrote to Jackie Rosen and Representative Cortez Masto, and one said, we can't help you. It's not a federal issue. Can't get much more federal than FBI, thank you. And the other one said, we can't help you because it is a federal thing. And so, yeah, they're just all, nope, nobody wants to touch it. Nobody wants to talk about it. We tried to contact I say he because he's been so much time with Rachel, the guy that's the representative, the congressperson or whatever it is, state rep for the Lincoln County area, which is where Rachel is located. And he didn't even know Rachel was in his jurisdiction. He apologized and he said, what was the word he used?
I'm not one of his consentients.
Consentients.
Whatever
yeah.
Consentients may be. The guy's completely useless.
And so when he wrote back and said, excuse me, but we're smack dab in the middle of your jurisdiction. And he did respond with, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was wrong. Never addressed the issue. Never said he would or wouldn't look into it. Never said anything. I sent something to the governor's office. They told me to talk to the attorney general. I mean, everybody just passed things around, and it was more like, well, here's legal aid if you need legal assistance, and nobody wanted to touch it. I sent something to Susie Lee, our congresswoman, and she didn't respond at all, which, okay, I just kind of let it go at that point. I figured that none of them are going to help us. Finally, again, reached out to her again in 2023 and said, I reached out to you before and you didn't respond. And they did respond to me. Her guy called me and said, sorry, we thought it was taken care of. You said you had reached out to other representatives and we thought it was being taken care of. And I said, no, nobody. And I told them exactly what happened. So they reached out to the FBI and they were stonewalled. For months, they didn't get a response. Then they finally got the same response that Joerg had been getting, that it's an ongoing investigation. We can't tell you anything. they tried one more time after that and got the same response. So they're not, they're not being, even if they wanted to be helpful, they're not going to get anywhere any more than we did. So, and just to follow up with what I did this year, because we have a new administration, I thought, well, can't do any harm and it probably won't get any responses, but what the heck. So I sent a letter to President Trump, Secretary of Defense Hegseth, FBI Director Patel, who actually is from Las Vegas, and the Attorney General, thinking somebody can at least tell us where we're at with this and how do we get our stuff back. And I will be shocked, and we will let you all know if we get any kind of response from them. But I don't know, given the way things are going and the overreach that we're seeing going on all over, we might get any kind of response would be better than nothing. But in the long scheme of things, our case is so minuscule compared to other cases, which is, why we weren't called to DC to give any kind of testimony on the FBI's overreach or any of that kind of stuff. We're not big fish. And other people have had it way worse. People have been in jail. People have been killed. When the government comes kicking down at the wrong door or whatever. So that's the efforts that we have made as far as trying to get some kind of help. And on that note, there was a question in here, and I'm gonna bring it up, and then Joerg is gonna take it from there. The question had to do with a good civil rights. This is from Tim. A good civil rights attorney may take your case.
Only gets
paid if they win. You have good evidence. Well.
Yeah, so that's what I thought in the days after the raid happened. I actually have legal insurance, and I called through my legal insurance I contacted several attorneys. Well, I got to be able to sue them. I got to be able to sue them for damages, for pain and suffering, for this and that. Nobody wanted to touch this. One attorney almost laughed in my face. No, you don't have anything. You don't have anything to go on. As it turns out, the FBI really has the right to do what they did. There were procedural mistakes made, but that aside, they were completely within their rights to do what they did. And no attorney here in Las Vegas wanted to even touch the case. I spoke to, 3 or 4 different attorneys here in Vegas, and none of them wanted to go past the initial consultation, touch the case, or even discuss any kind of contract, me hiring them, basically. They just weren't interested. No, can't do this, don't have anything to do with it, not our expertise. I finally found an attorney, and that's a whole other story in itself that we may leave for another day. But the bottom line is, I also contacted every single one of the nonprofit legal help organizations. We are on your side, we help you out. One of them responded once for asking for more information. I provided more information, never heard back. None of these organizations. I contacted Jonathan Turley, who is, of course, a very prominent attorney who fought very well for the people that got sick at Area 51 from toxic burns. So I thought, okay, he might have an interest. I never heard back from him. I don't know if it got through to him, if somebody in his office filtered out the email. But bottom line is, I would have said the same thing before the raid happened. Well, get a good attorney and sue the hell out of them. You're going to own the FBI. No, you don't. You have nothing. Trust me, I'm German. I was born in Germany, and we Germans have a very thick head. We are very stubborn. And trust me, if I can't make it happen, it's not going to happen. When I put my mind to it, and I have put my mind to it, it is not possible. You don't find anyone. I've talked to people, and I've tried to write to organizations. I try to find attorneys that do this on a pro bono basis, on a contingency basis. Nobody wants to talk to you about it. It just doesn't. It's nothing that anyone is interested in. And like Linda said, in the grand scheme of things, for us, this is a big deal. This is probably one of the most traumatic events that have happened to me in my entire life. But in the grand scheme of things, we are very small fish. And, they go after the bigger fish. They go after the big cases that have good media exposure. I was lucky enough to get some decent media exposure. Tucker Carlson even was nice enough to invite me to be on his show when this had just happened and gave me a great opportunity for which I'm very thankful to make my case on to a national audience. But bottom line is, if you are in this kind of a situation, you are Tim, ACLU, you bet all of them, including ACLU. If you're in this situation, you're dead in the water. And one thing, did you want to?
I was just going to say for any of my woo-woo friends that might be out there, I even sent a letter to Danny Sheehan. And if you are from some of the groups that I hang around with, you'll know who that is. But he's been known to step up for causes. And his people, the group that handled his email, did respond saying that they received it, but that he was busy. And I know he is. I see he's going to conferences all over the place. So far, he hasn't even responded. But.
Yeah. And I think wasn't he also contacted by Joe? Or was it I think it was same guy that Joe talked to. Anyway, I think we have exhausted pretty much every avenue. And Tim, I see your comment, you're allowed to sue the FBI, but if everybody is scared to try, I wonder why. Yeah, well, that is one thing. But the other thing is there are attorneys that are happy to take the case for a buttload of money. I just recently talked to legal counsel, and I was told if this goes to trial, which it won't because they have nothing on me. But if it goes to trial, I am looking at north of $100,000 in attorney's fees if I want a good attorney. And I was told, yeah, you can get it for a lot less, but if you want an attorney that really has a chance of winning against the FBI, you're looking at $100,000 plus if they press charges on anything. Now, if I'm probably going to be looking at about the same amount of money if I wanted to sue the FBI. If I win, am I going to get some money back? Maybe, but I can't. I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford to gamble $100,000 that I don't have on a maybe. So yeah, they got me there. I'm dead in the water as far as that goes.
I think that's the whole point, is to harass and scare you into doing whatever it is they want you to do, because otherwise it's going to cost you too much money to fight them, and they know it. I mean, look at everybody knows the news. They've been, we've seen what's gone on in the last couple of years with high-profile people. I won't use any names. You all know who I'm talking about. They have the money to fight and hire lawyers and all of that, and they've talked about how much it can cost. We don't, so.
Exactly. And on that note, I have to say reluctantly, but finally, after several of our friends suggested open a GoFundMe page, I finally and reluctantly did set up a GoFundMe page, and I was just blown away by the echo. I'm going to post the address right here. You can look at it. There's some photos of the raid on there, and of course what happened. And I was just completely blown away. We have between the stuff that they took from me, the damage to our homes, and attorney's fees, I'm in the hole about 32,000 right now at this point. And as you can see, if you go to the GoFundMe page, we have raised over $19,000 from supporters that have that feel sorry for our situation and that maybe have been in a similar situation, that can imagine the situation. We are so thankful for their support. And, it means a lot to us, not only from the financial point of view, but from the emotional point of view, that there's people that feel for us, that are supporting us. So, we got a lot of emails even, every email helps. It supports us because we think, at some point you sit there, man, maybe I shouldn't have opened that website. I hadn't talked about my website here. I'm assuming most of you know my website, dreamlandresort.com, all about Area 51. Probably about like similar to about a half a dozen other websites that do similar things. But it had crossed my mind. Maybe I shouldn't have done that website. But then all the encouragement and all the feedback that we're getting, no, we're on the right track. There's a lot of people that enjoy what I'm showing on the website. I'm not showing anything illegal, and people are appreciating it. So between the GoFundMe page and it is not easy for me to say this, but if you want to help us, anything is appreciated to that GoFundMe account, or I have also a donation page on my Dreamland Resort website. I am really quite a bit in the hole already, and I can't allow myself to get any further in that hole. And it is not easy for me to ask for money, but if you can help out, we appreciate anything you can do.
Or if you happen to be an attorney or know one that might be interested, please send him our way.
Absolutely. I mean, on contingency basis, pro bono, or if they can do a deal where they can help me a little out with the finances, I would love to go after these people, but I can't because I don't have the money. It's as simple as that. And it's I can't bring home that fact clearly enough. It is nothing like it is in the movies. You are confronted with a situation where you don't know the rules, and these people make the rules as they go along. There's, let me actually go back to the FBI raid website for a second and show you some of the things that, where is it? Right here.
While he's doing that, I just want to add, we were interviewed, for those, I guess anybody probably knows who George Knapp is, maybe not. Locals here in Vegas would for sure know who he is, but he's had us on Coast to Coast twice, and he asks me the same question both times. Do you wish that, have you ever said to Joerg, hey, honey, maybe it's time to shut your website down? Maybe it's time to find a new hobby? And my answer's been the same both times. No, there's no reason why he should stop doing something he loves, something he's put his heart and soul into for all these years, and the hobby that he really likes, for something like this. No, I don't. Do I wish none of this happened? Of course.
Yeah, but it's not through our fault.
Right.
It's really, and I've said as much on my Dreamland Resort website many times, that if we ever get into something that shouldn't be out on the internet, I would hope that somebody in a position to contact me would let me know, tell me not even tell me who they are, but that they have legitimate interest in getting this information taken down. I would have taken it down. There was no reason for this to come down this way and to waste a lot of taxpayers' money. I mean, all these agents, 15, 20 agents in Rachel, and about the same amount of agents here, all the vehicles, gas mileage, all that, and of course now the federal judge and all that investigation costing a boatload of money. All that wasn't necessary. Just talk to me and tell me, hey, take it off. Okay, no problem. I would have done so, and I think I've demonstrated over the years that I cooperate, that I don't work against the government. I am an American by choice, and I support this country wholeheartedly. That's why I'm here. So if a good reason is given to me that this is against national security, I'm going to drop it, but not this way. This is not how I'm going to be talked to. So that may also be a message to the people that may be listening here. You should have approached this differently, but it's too late for that now.
In my opinion, this just brings more spotlight on the website, and everything else is bringing more people looking at it than if they would have just handled it on the down low, and he would have been totally cooperative.
Yeah, right. I mean, all this media attention would have never happened, and Dreamland Resort would have been a sleepy website like some others, and nobody would know about it. I may not have ever even considered opening up a YouTube channel. All this came through contacts that came out of this whole FBI investigation. So, yeah, I think they shot themselves in the foot there. I really just want to draw your attention to this page. It's on the Area 51 FBI raid website. The FBI lied to us. Read this part very carefully and try to, if this ever, God forbid, if this ever happens to you, this is some of the lies that they will use, and don't fall for it. I also have, by the way, a whole section with correspondence with the FBI, as one-sided as it was, and also other elected officials. You can read all that. We have nothing to hide. It's all out there. People tell lies about us. I've heard somebody in Rachel actually telling people that I was dragged out from under my house by the FBI agents. I was hiding in the crawl space under the house. Anybody who knows me would know better than that I would ever go down in there. No, there's so many lies. We just wanted to put it out there okay, we have nothing to hide. Here it is. FBI, where is your side of the story? Where is the body footage, the body cam footage of the event? Where's all that? Where are the 39 missing pages of the search warrant? That's kind of why we put it all out there.
I think scarier to me, initially when this happened, Joerg was, we were both really shook up, and when certain people, reached out and wanted to put the story out there, he was reluctant. The first person, and only person he originally talked to was George Knapp, because he has a working relationship with George and had been interviewed before him. But like when Tucker Carlson reached out and others, he didn't really want to do this. He thought it might cause more trouble. And being the conspiracy theorist that I am, said, no, you should shine a light on this and let it be known what they're doing, because it could disappear you, they could Clintonize you for all, and who's going to know about it? So over time, and he decided, it's best to shine light on it and make it known. Like he said, we've done nothing wrong. Here's our side of the story. Where's the FBI side? Or better yet, where's the OSI side? Where's the military side of this?
And why is the military even in charge of this operation? OSI signed the list of seized items, at least in Rachel. We can't tell whether the agent who signed it here in Vegas was FBI or OSI, but OSI took custody of my stuff. How are they even involved? I'm not military. I've never been in the military. I'm not under OSI's jurisdiction. So how are they even in charge of this? Go for it.
No, I'm just reading Big Apple's questions. We'll get to that in a second. I definitely want to cover that. But,
yeah.
When I did ask them what this was about as they were dragging me out my front door, they said, your boyfriend took pictures of a military base. That's against the law. Don't you know that? Or something like that. And I said, no, he didn't. You're wrong. Because I know he wouldn't. Matter of fact, he's the first one to step up and tell people, don't go into Area 51. Don't cross over that line thinking that you're going to be able to get in there without getting hurt. He's very much protective of all of that. So that's probably why OSI was involved. We kind of know, I personally, again, the conspiracy theorist, I personally think that pictures might have come up that he didn't take, and they're all over the internet, that of something that maybe shouldn't have gotten captured on film.
Yeah, well,
that's my thoughts.
I think there's also been a couple of incidents that may or may not be a reality, that somebody supposedly flew a drone into restricted airspace during that time. I've heard this through the grapevine, and I don't have first-hand knowledge of this, but this might have triggered an investigation. It was known that I had a drone, so okay, somebody flew a drone in there. That guy has a drone, and he's got an Area 51 website. Gotta be him.
Yeah.
Wasn't me. I've never flown a drone into Area 51. I've never flown an aircraft into Area 51. I've never set foot into Area 51. And whoever says the opposite or whoever says otherwise is lying.
And that brings me to Big Apple's question. Hey, sorry to hear this has happened to you. A YouTube channel has a video showing you and police questioning you at the back gate about a
Mhm.
drone. I don't know if you're aware of this video. Please
Yes.
explain.
Thank you. I'm glad I can give an explanation of that. Yes, there is a YouTube video by a somewhat questionable YouTube channel about this incident. The incident happened. The police interaction happened. What happened is this. I was at the back gate with, as I do occasionally, with a TV crew from Germany at the time. I occasionally take TV crews out there to show them around, to make sure they don't get in trouble, and to show them some of the features of security and so forth. So I was out there at the gate, and this was a German crew for a major production in Germany. They wanted to get things just right and perfect, so they took a long time to get every shot 2 and 3 times, did a take, a retake, another take, and so forth. And meanwhile, vehicles were piling up on the inside of the back gate, wanting to get out. They didn't want to come out while our cameras were out there, so we were kind of impeding the people. They could have come out, we weren't in their way, but they just didn't want to come out. So finally, I guess a security guard got tired of it and called the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, lied to them, and said that we flew a drone into a restricted area. Now, lying to a police officer and filing a false police report is a federal crime. So this security agent, the security guard at the base, committed a federal crime in that moment. We never flew a drone at the gate. We had a drone in the vehicle because we were going to later on the day do some shots along the highway of me driving down, the drone flying overhead and getting shots of my vehicle driving on the highway, showing the loneliness of the terrain. So we had a drone in the vehicle, and but we never flew it. So the deputy came out and asked me the questions. The interaction happened as it was shown in the video. The video was obviously edited, and only the juicy parts were picked out. But the interaction did happen. The deputy went twice into the guard building, talked to security there, told them that I said we had never flown a drone. They insisted that we had flown a drone. So if they have what, about 20, 24, 25 security cameras at the back gate, and they don't have any footage of us flying the drone, but they claim we did. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, then their security cameras really suck. So they couldn't produce any evidence. And I think from the interaction with the deputy, I was under the clear impression that he knew that they were just BSing, that they just wanted to get rid of us. And that was the ultimate goal. So to say this again, we were at the back gate. We were doing filming for a German TV channel. We never flew a drone out there. The security finally got tired of us, wanted to get rid of us. And so they called the sheriff's deputy. He came out there, knew full well that his only role was to chase us away, that they were lying to him. But whoever filed that police report, there is actually a police report about that incident. Whoever filed that police report committed a federal crime. And, I'm still on the fence whether I want to pursue that. But that's the background on that video. Of course, that video channel has a somewhat sketchy reputation, so they doctored it in such a way that it looks really bad for me. The fact that it really doesn't look too bad for me at all is only proof that there was really nothing bad going on.
And another question coming from Big Apple is you might have to file a FOIA request for body cam footage. FOIA, I think you meant FOIA, right?
FOIA, yeah.
Okay, on that note, let me start by saying that I can't even get a FOIA on me. I submitted a request for a FOIA on me based on my being drug into this because I live in this house. And again, also because I live here, I even thought, well, if they aren't going to reimburse him because he's on the warrant, I sent a request in for half because I pay half the bills here. And I requested half of the money for the carpet cleaning, broken door, broken blinds in the back, all that. And they never even responded to me. And in regard to the FOIA, their response to me was, it's an ongoing investigation. You're like, not so much you're involved in an ongoing, it just said they wouldn't give me anything because of an ongoing investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So much for FOIA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really unbelievable how you get stonewalled. And again, a lot of this may not even be procedurally correct, but what are we going to do? Are we going to hire an attorney to pursue this? It costs a lot of money. So basically, these people can blatantly blow you off and lie to you. And to prove the opposite or to prove them otherwise, you would have to spend a lot of money. And who has that kind of money laying around? So I think. Did we cover everything that we should? I think we should probably take some questions. I bet a lot of people have questions, and we want to answer them because we have nothing to hide. If I can't answer a question, I can't answer it, but I can promise you I'm not going to lie. So ask us.
Yeah, just my quick thoughts on the attorney business, at least at this point. I think the first attorney that you had spoken to said something along the lines of, there's really nothing I can do because you're not arrested. Yeah. Okay, so it's like I could lie to you and say, yeah, pay me thousands of dollars an hour, and I'll pretend I can do something, but there really isn't anything to be done. But so we stopped really pursuing that so much as and went into how do we get the stuff back?
Yeah.
How do I get his data, his finances, his medical records, personal pictures of his family, things like that. How does he get that back? The rest of it, like I think one attorney said, by the time you get your laptops back, they'll be so out of date you won't be able to use them.
Yeah. And
that's not as important. It's more about personal items. I mean, can you imagine if tomorrow you didn't have internet? Your phone went dead. There was, let's say, an EMP hits and everything's knocked out. Everything you have is online. I guarantee you, most of you, everything you have, everything of an import, because you are told to back this shit up. Well, they took backups of backups. I mean, they took everything, and you have to start all over again. You have to recreate your finances, recreate your medical records, all that stuff gone.
Yeah, every password that I had saved in a password manager on my various machines, gone. So I had to recreate every single password. Thank God I remembered the password for my Dreamland Resort website, so I was able to download the website again. And that's literally how I started, with a blank new computer and downloading my website, and every note was gone, every photo was gone, every medical record was gone, you have everything on your computer. Somebody's going to come to you today and take every single one of your electronic devices, and just pretend you don't have any online backups. I still don't believe in online backups. I didn't have any. I had backups in 2 different homes in 2 different counties, so I never thought that I figured, okay, if the Vegas house burns down, I got the backups in Rachel. If Rachel burns down, I got the backups in Vegas. I never thought that, someone would come literally and take everything. So yeah, that was I mean, apps on my phone that I had bought that were of course tied to the account that I use on my phone. I didn't have the password, so I had to get a new account for my phone, for my Android phone. I had to buy all the apps over and over again. I had to buy new copies of those apps. I had to buy copies of software that I had bought already for my laptop. I mean, it cost that. Yeah, I just realized I didn't even count any of that money towards damages that they caused. But it's unbelievable. I mean, you start over. You literally start your life over almost. I mean, today we live on the internet. We live on digital devices.
And you don't even realize what you've lost until you go to find it, and then you realize, oh my God, they had that too.
Yeah. To this day, I still find things that I want to do that I don't do very frequently. Websites that I want to log in. Oh, I don't have that login. It's gone. So yeah, it's a major pain in the rear.
And Gary's got a question. Big Apple does.
Yeah, let's just start with questions here. Gary. During the raid, were you told the specific reason for the raid, flying a drone? Wari website. Uh, they asked several questions about me flying a drone. It was like I was sitting in this car shivering and very uncomfortable, and it was always this conversation was always, well, but you flew a drone into Area 51. Don't you know that's illegal? I never flew a drone into Area 51. Okay, next subject. But you flew a drone into Area 51. Don't you know that's illegal? So they wanted to kind of almost get me to incriminate myself, and I never did, and I stated as much. So that was about the only thing that they were asking about, flying a drone into Area 51, taking pictures of Area 51, and but not specifics. They didn't quote any specific law. And this particular law, that if you look at the search warrant on the FBI Area 51 FBIRate.com website, if you look at the search warrant, you will see that they cite mostly one paragraph of the law that says it is illegal to take pictures of a military installation, of certain military installations, without any further specification. First of all, how am I supposed to know which installations they are talking about? Secondly, that paragraph is on very shaky ground, and legal counsel has assured me that if it comes to a trial, that paragraph is not going to stand. Because just imagine, I'm out at Nellis taking pictures of planes, like probably hundreds of people during every red flag exercise do. What do? They direct their cameras, they take pictures of planes over Nellis. They're taking pictures of military installation. You go as a tourist to some foreign town, you take pictures of somebody, and you have a military installation in the background. Oh my God, you're a criminal. No, that law is just null and void. It's not going to stand, and if that's all they have.
What about Google flying over Area 51 and taking panoramic and putting it out there? You know,
Google Earth.
Google Earth.
Yeah.
Are they going to arrest Google?
Yeah. So that is completely ridiculous. That's not going to stand. So, and that is apparently the only thing they really have on me. That's the only thing that is cited in the search warrant. I invite you to take a look at it. There's 3 different subsections to this particular law that are all 3 of them are null and void, and are not going to hold true in a court of law. So Gary's short answer to Gary's question, in a roundabout way, yes, but not in specifics, and I was not informed exactly what they were looking for when they took all my devices. So Big Apple says, funny you mentioned earlier flying an aircraft. 2022 Christmas Day, there's a YouTube video posted of someone flying a Cessna aircraft over the restricted area. I couldn't believe my eyes. That flight, I know about that flight. The pilot of that flight was in legal airspace. He was not. He was in an area that is sometimes restricted, and sometimes on weekends and on holidays, which Christmas Day clearly is, opened to public traffic, to civilian traffic. So when that pilot flew through that airspace, he was well within his rights. He was in contact with air traffic control, and he was given permission to fly through that airspace. So while it's very unusual for someone to do that, it was not at all, there was nothing illegal about that flight. Okay, there's a German, Hans Forrest. Grüße nach Deutschland zurück, one of my German fans. Boy, you're up late. Germany, 5:10 in the morning. Thank you for staying up for
It's up
this.
early.
Up early or late, I guess. So yeah, I know we haven't covered everything. I don't want to get too lengthy here. I want to open it up to questions. So ask away. And gerade wach geworden, na schön. Bist aber früh dabei um 5 Uhr morgens am Samstag. And I think the one message that I want to get out with this stream more than anything else is twofold. Don't ever think it cannot happen to you. It can happen to you. We never thought it would happen to us either. And don't ever think you're prepared. You're not. They will throw things at you that you're not prepared for.
If I would have told Joerg the day before this happened that something like this could happen to just ordinary citizens, because I read a lot of stuff online, and if I would have said, "Oh God, I just saw where this couple, blah 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 blah," he would have just looked at me like he tends to do when I talk about that kind of stuff, and just rolls his eyes at me. He wouldn't have never believed it could happen. And it shakes you, and it makes you really. You can kind of see how people's minds change about what they've been born and raised to believe.
Yeah.
And they find out that it's all bullshit. It's based on bullshit.
You know, you guys are sitting there in your offices, in your homes, wherever, and you're listening to us, and I appreciate that you do. But you're probably thinking, yeah, these people, they probably did something wrong. They shouldn't have done that. That's exactly what I would have thought if I would have seen somebody do a live cast like this, who this thing happened to. It really opened my eyes to a lot of possibilities. Don't ever think it's not going to concern you. It's not going to happen to you. It could very well happen to you. And, you know, I pray that it never does. I really don't wish anyone any ill. But, you know, it can happen. And it's the feeling of vulnerability, of helplessness, frustration is really overwhelming. And I can honestly say that for a while I was struggling with very extreme thoughts. I'm going to leave it at that.
You know, another aspect that people had brought up in the beginning was, you know, Joerg being a long time, having a website for so long, and somebody mentioned being a researcher, that he should have coverage from the press, freedom of the press. What happened to freedom of the press when it came to this?
Yeah. You think all that talk about freedom of the press, and I would probably qualify for that, but again, I would have to get an attorney. I would have to pay the attorney a lot of money to establish that. No. I'm not big enough. You know, if this were to happen to, I don't want to name any names, but to someone who's known in the media, it's probably a different story, because that person would have contacts. There might have been attorneys that might be interested in this. They picked a guy who's just important enough to where people get wind of it, but who is not important enough to where anyone really gives a shit about.
Well, you're a lot more well-known now.
Yeah. And, well, I guess Big Apple wants to know if you speak German. Say something in German.
Nine.
She doesn't.
I don't.
Not yet.
I understand bits and pieces, and if any of you know who Rammstein is, the music, the band, whatever, I learned a lot of it from them. So I wouldn't want to say some of the things that I know in German.
Yeah.
You know, and Terry, your question about sounds like sloppy communication on the part of the base, and their embarrassment led to unwarranted and punitive attention to you. Yeah, that, you know, if they'd be smart, they should just hire Joerg, and then, you know, he can tell them where they're sloppy, where they're you know, making mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell them, I'm not pursuing any of these things, but I could tell them a lot of their weaknesses in their system. And, you know, at the same time, with my Dreamland Resort website, I'm also guiding people to stay safe. So I'm already kind of working for them. I got watchers etiquette on my page. I got probably 20 or 25 frequently asked questions. Where can you go? Where can you not go? Can you fly drones? Where can you not fly drones? Why shouldn't you fly drones? I got a lot of that information on the website already. And all joking aside, if it would have been an honor for me to work with them instead of this very hostile relationship that has developed. But at this point, I'm still angry enough to where I don't know if at this point I would even be willing to entertain that. I've calmed down a lot. It's been 2 years and then some, but I'm still, this leaves a scar, and that scar is probably going to be with me for the rest of my life. All right, so
Auto Solutions.
let's see, Auto Solutions, you have been known as a researcher for a long time. I wonder what changed that made them want to raid your home suddenly. I don't think anything has changed. Auto Solutions. It was a point was reached where somebody higher up in the food chain was not comfortable with what I'm doing, and from what I hear, kind of had a fit. And when somebody high up in the food chain has a fit, that trickles down, and then people under him got nervous and kicked this loose, lied to a federal judge in order to get a search warrant issued, and that's how it happened. Nothing has changed. Like you said, and thank you for pointing that out. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and pretty much the same thing. Publishing some frequencies of red flag exercises, so the people that come out there to take pictures can listen to them. Publishing photos of the gates, this and that, no big deal. Publishing photos of Area 51 from Tikaboo 26 miles away, yes, I've done that. And they are not anywhere near as good as what you can find on Google Earth. So if you go after me, go after Google Earth too. So nothing has changed. I think there was a point where they wanted to send a message back off. And I was chosen very deliberately because, like I said, I'm very vocal, as you can probably tell. I've always been very vocal. They knew I was going to be vocal enough to where this word about this gets out. Other people maybe back off a little bit, but I'm not important or big enough to where I have enough of a following or enough support for somebody to actually take an interest in it and try to do something in our defense. So no, nothing has changed and nothing will change. Right after the raid, I have removed certain items from my website that I subsequently have put back on. So my website, I haven't done anything to my website related to the change, other than briefly taking something off, putting it back on. I will not change what I'm doing because I'm not doing anything wrong. You've seen my YouTube channel. I'm showing YouTube videos about visiting the gates, about other people visiting, having fun there, all in good fun. Nobody's crossing the boundary. Nobody's doing anything. I will not ever cooperate with. I've been contacted with publications and with media that I could tell they were a little out there. And I said, no, this is not me. Find somebody else to do this with. So I'm picking who I work with, and I try to keep them. Again, I'm probably doing them a favor in doing so. Was this around the time of the B-21 activity at the site? Yes, that may have something to do with it. The B-21 was in a hot phase of not the B-21 itself flying, but subsystems of the B-21 being tested there. That could have something to do with it, that they just wanted me to back off a little bit and keep me busy for a while with this whole FBI rigmarole and keep me off track of following what's going on in the base. And it worked. I was very busy with this FBI case for a while. So maybe you nailed it right there. I don't know. Who are the feds in the chat?
Yes, please raise your hands.
Yeah, please, send me some love, feds. So yeah, I wish I knew, but I don't blame them for being here. They would not be doing their job if they weren't here. Desert 67, if you hold dual citizenship, a human right violation complaint might be an option for your birth country to have them start an investigation, at least get some answers for them to respond. Well, if they don't even respond to their own Congress people, I don't think they would respond to a foreign entity. And by the way, I am no longer a German citizen. I'm a American citizen by choice. When I made that choice, I gave my German citizenship up. Miller Van Dot TV, never cooperate. They only want to jam you up later. That's exactly right. You got it. You nailed it there. Never cooperate. Don't be hostile. Don't fight them, but know your rights. And Oh, there's some love. Maybe that was the FBI.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Auto Solutions. I was thinking something was going on at the base and they wanted to clear off the researchers, and you are the most known one. So I guess that's the reason. Thanks, Jörg, for clearing that up. Yeah, you may have nailed it. I honestly, that has in that clarity never crossed my mind, but you might have just nailed it. That might have all just been a smokescreen for something that was hot at the time. Louis Ackers, lots of love from the feds. All right, so you're the Fed. All right, now we know. Just kidding. Okay, that was a private message to the Big Apple, looks like. So I submitted. Yeah, that's just clarifying the flight.
I'd laugh if Lewis really was. And he's sitting at home laughing, going, I really am.
Who knows?
Who knows? Who cares?
Who knows?
Enjoy. Nice to see you.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe Desert 67, I believe dual citizenship exists for Germany. It did at the time when I became a citizen, which was 22 years ago. I could have applied for it. My parents were still alive at the time, so I could have applied on the grounds of my parents still living in Germany. But it was important for me. This was right after September 11, and I wanted to show my solidarity with this country. So I wanted to be an American citizen, no reservations, and gave up my German citizenship at the time. Gary, if the FBI had anything on you, they could shut down your website, but they don't, so they can't. Exactly. I mean, if they had 2.5 years now poring over my laptops, they're going to find stuff on my laptops that is very similar to what's on my website. And I'm sorry to disappoint everyone. They are not going to find the smoking gun because it doesn't exist. And you're right. If they had something about me, against me, they would long shut down my website and I'll be in jail.
They have 5 years to hold this, just to hold it. Then they will wait to the very bitter end, even if they're not doing anything about it anymore. They'll just let it go for the 5 years just because they can.
It's the statute of limitations is 5 years. And I was recently told they will and they can and they will. It's maybe their way of giving me the finger. I don't know. At this point, I fully expect them to take every single day of the 5 years. I'd be very disappointed if it doesn't take all the 5 years. But you know what? I replaced everything that was of value. I would still like to get my pictures back. Eventually, I trust they're in good hands with the feds. So I hope that I will get them back at some point. And medical records, that even those I have recreated to some degree, and I bought everything that I had to replace except for drone. I kind of had already gotten tired of the drone thing when I still had it. Terry, has anyone ever played a guitar solo for the Camo Dudes at the back gate? Not yet, but I have a feeling somebody will very soon, and there will be a video on YouTube of that very soon. So Camo Dudes, be ready. And I totally look forward to it. We're going to have fun with that. Craig, they don't need to be in the chat. Anyone with a digital footprint has no privacy. The idea we have is a Potemkin facade. I made peace with that a long time ago, totally. I have nothing to hide. I have no expectation whatsoever of privacy. The Rachel phone can very easily be tapped into because all of that goes through microwaves. It doesn't bother me. I have nothing to hide. Go for it. I have zero expectation of privacy, online or offline. Go for it. You're going to find a really boring guy. So Louis is our agent, isn't he? He's from England, so we have an agent from England here. I'm having you on the background while I work late hours in the morning. I've been an Area 51 fan since I was a kid in the 2000s. Oh, Miller.TV, thank you for your donation. Thank you for your support. Much appreciated. And your support and everyone's support here in the chat really warms our heart. It does us good. And, you know, in a way we feel abused, and this is great to see all this interest, and that's last but not least, that's why we're doing this and sharing it with everyone. So thank you. Hans Forrest, you are very friendly. Like, now I begin my day. Okay, well, have a great day back home in Germany there. Liebe Grüße aus Deutschland. Uwe S. Okay, liebe Grüße nach Deutschland zurück. Thank you for my German fans, and I know that I haven't done a lot of YouTube videos lately in German. I promise I will do something very soon, and I'm just overwhelmed with. I'm a one-man show here, and as you might have seen the live streams with Michael about the Tikabu hike. I got a lot going on, and I'll get stuff in German out there very soon too. Hey, anyone from the Air Force OSI in the chat, raise your hand. Well, I don't see any hands. There are 3 of you. Raise your hands. Yeah. So
I do have one more comment to make about all of this. Although it's kind of a sideline thing, if any of you ever do pass through the area, pass through Rachel, whatever, or come to Rachel just because you want to see the area, and you go to the only restaurant in town called the Little Alien.
Oh, keep it.
Don't believe what you hear.
Yeah.
They're about hype and trying to make a buck, so they'll say things just because, and they'll say things that are about us, about Joerg in particular, just because it sounds more interesting and intriguing, kind of like the news we see today. Is trying to make things as salacious as they can to make it interesting, and so don't believe any of that crap. You've seen him. This is the way Joerg is. So what they tend to tell people is not the way Joerg is, but that's their personal problem.
Yeah, and I've heard firsthand stories of what they are telling people about me. I'm very disappointed by that. After many years of friendship, things got sour through the Storm Area 51 event. And that I can say firsthand, I can come up with witnesses of things that they say about me. So they need to be a little more careful what they say about me. And when you go there, just take whatever you hear about us, in particular about me, with a big grain of salt.
There's a question about Michael.
Has Michael gone home? And when is he back for another collab? Yes, he's gone home. I rather not say exactly when he's going to be back, but he will be back, and there will be another collab very, very soon, and we'll certainly be on this channel about it, and there will be more interesting things coming forward. So Michael is really he's cool. He's picking up. I really do want to talk about this subject, but I had a heck of a time doing this broad live cast with him. He's just a great guy. We've become friends over the years, and I see a lot of the young me in him. He's doing all the things that I've done when I was his age, maybe a little older. I have a lot of respect for what he does. I wish I could still. Some of you probably know that we tried to hike Tikabu together. I didn't make it. I'm working towards maybe one day making it again, but I got to lose about 20 pounds before then. And but I really appreciate him doing what he's doing, and be ready for. There's going to be a lot more between the two of us. Gary, yeah, we met. I would have known which year it was, but it was great meeting you. And if I remember correctly, you drove with us to the Little Alien that year, before things all got sour. And I think that was a really cool trip with the Roadrunners. Roadrunners is a whole different subject that I don't want to get into. Maybe I'll paste a link for people that might be interested in it. The Roadrunners were the people that used to work at Area 51 in the 50s and 60s. By now they can talk about what they did there. They have a website that I am maintaining for them. Check out that website if you're interested. Great website. There's great stories. I mean, there's all these stories from these guys that were in their 20s when they worked at Area 51, and they tell all these stories. Of course, now a lot of them are of that age, and sadly, a few of them have passed away. And but it's a great website, great story, and the ultimate resource on back in the days of Area 51. There may even be a live stream with about the Roadrunners and with a special guest who I don't want to mention right now, but I'm working on that, and we have talked about it briefly. I think it may happen. Don't know quite why, but this will be a very interesting live stream for the Roadrunners and the days at the ranch back in the 50s and 60s. But that's a whole different story.
Before we, I don't know how to do this soon. Before we do, I have to do a shout out to my sister who is listening to us from Michigan. She's going to win the lottery, and she's going to give us money so that we can take on whatever we have to get this resolved.
Wow.
I love you, sis.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope we win. That's awesome. Great idea. Thank you. Can't wait to meet you. So, speaking of Roadrunners, have you read Ben Rich's book? He talks a lot about the U2, and I have to admit I have not read his book. Still making my way through Peter Merlin's book about the Area 51, of course. I'm not much of a reader. I'm doing things more online. Read some of what he says in his book online, but I haven't read his book. Of course, stories. I haven't read his book. Of course, stories about the U2 and SR days. That's what the Roadrunners page is all about. So while I haven't read his book, I would love to read it one day. If ever that boring retirement that they promised me sets in. I don't see it yet. I'm so busy. But yeah, no, totally. I love to catch up on all of that. And there's so many things that I wish I could do. Obviously, this is probably my biggest hobby, but I have also other things going on, and there's always stuff to do in Rachel. So I'm an audiobook. That's a good idea. I've actually just started. Linda got me hooked on audiobooks on the drives up to Rachel. So I'll get that as an audio idea. So drives up to Rachel. So I'll get that as an audio idea. So I want to keep it definitely before 2 hours are up. I think then it gets really too long. I haven't read the book, but a lot of what he says, of course, I have seen and read in publications. So this is I've always been fascinated with military aviation, and so this has been a hobby since I can think. I mean, I've seen the air show in Hanover. I've seen the Harrier hover in front of the crowd. Wow, that I think in that moment my fascination was created. Peter Merlin's Dreamland book is absolutely terrific. It is the Bible on Area 51. It's not cheap, but like you said, Milavan.tv, it is worth every penny and then some. It's the Bible on Area 51. That's all. So
Thank you, Louis.
I think I'm going to go to bed. It was lovely to listen to your story. Thank you very much. And we're going to wrap it up here. Unless you have any final thoughts.
No.
We thank you all for your interest, for sticking with us, for your support. And rest assured, Dreamland Resort is not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. And there will be a lot more on this channel, on Dreamland Resort. And, it's all legal. So don't worry about, it's been brought to my attention that somebody is saying you shouldn't go to my website because it's all illegal and it's bugged by the FBI. No, it's not more bugged than any other website is too. So don't worry about any of that.
I'll let you know when I hear from President Trump.
Oh, we will let everybody know about that. It'll be all over the news. And, wouldn't that be great if he actually picks up on two small people like us and says, hey, these people, they were wrong, just like me. I'm gonna help them
There you
out.
go.
So, folks, with that, I think we're going to say goodnight. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you again soon.
Night.